pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Five board members present, we have a quorum, numbers are all signed in. Just we have a motion to approve the minutes for the last.
I will make a motion to approve the minutes as published.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passed. All ayes.
Leave on the screen up there, the gentleman at the top right there is Stan Olson, am I correct? From Crown Development, the gentleman on the lower left, I don't know.
That's Chris Knatz, also friend development.
Also with Crown,
Yes.
and our village attorney is. Is she up?
Yes, sir, I'm present.
Okay. Do we want to open the public hearing first, and then you are going to swear the people in that want to speak?
That's correct.
Okay. First order of business is a public hearing regarding a petition from Crown Community Development for a planned residential development. I'm just going to put it in real layman's terms, off of Big Timber Road to the south, I believe entailing almost 600 acres, continuing south. This is a preliminary plan for that planned unit development, which they are referring to as the Homestead subdivision. So we will let the record show that we opened a public hearing at 7:03.
All right, Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Sure.
Notice of this public hearing was published in the Daily Herald newspaper on February 18, 2021, and a certificate of that publication is on file with the village clerk. The zoning board rules of procedure will call for the petitioner to present its application and any support, any witnesses or persons that they want to describe features of that. There are two matters before you tonight. One is to zone basically the northwesterly 59 acres that's being added into the Oakstead plan for development. And the second is to recommend approval of a revised development plan, which would be for the entire original Oakstead plus this additional 59 acres that'll be added. Persons who are present should have filled out a speaker form if they intend to say something or ask questions this evening. We appreciate that. That will give the chairman a means to call on you one by one and keep some order as the hearing proceeds. Anyone who's online that wishes to make a comment will, the chair will call on you during the course of the public hearing and be sure that everyone has a chance to say what they wish or ask a question that's on their mind. When that's concluded, the petitioner's presentation, any comments or questions from the public, then the ZBA members can ask questions of their own. And at the end, then they will deliberate and try to come to a recommendation to the Board of Trustees on these two questions. So everyone who intends to speak, we want to put you under oath. So if anyone who's going to do that tonight, raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony, comments, or questions you're to give at this public hearing will be the truth? All of you say yes, I assume?
Yes.
All right, thank you very much. So, Mr. Chairman, if you have a list of persons, well, excuse me, first, I believe Mr. Olson probably will start off for Crown. the petitioner, and he has persons with him that he may then call on to address certain aspects of their two petitions.
I will. Thank you, Mark. Good to see all of you virtually. Looking forward to seeing you all in person again. My name is Dan Olson. I'm the head of the Engineering and Construction Department for Crown Community Development. With me tonight is Chris Natz, who heads up our Sales and Marketing Department. Rich Olson with Gary Weber and Associates, who's our planner. Dave Gauger with Semcon, who's our engineer. Vince Mosca with Hay and Associates, our environmental consultant. Tim Sogren with Kimley Horn, our traffic consultant. And John Mays and Phil Pykuch with Golden Ratner, who are our attorneys. So we're here to present our preliminary plan for Oakstead for your consideration. And I apologize if you've heard our presentation before, but we feel it's important to stay consistent with between the meetings. But before we get to the presentation of the plan, I thought I'd go into a brief history of the project. For those of you who weren't in attendance at the Plan Commission meeting. In 2005, we received the current entitlement for the project, which involved annexation, zoning, and preliminary plat and plan approval. The preliminary plan included 811 homes on 511 acres. The lot sizes were 8,000 to 15,000 square feet, 65 to 100 feet wide, and we had 256 acres of open space, which equates to about 50% of the site. Since then, there's been a few changes since 2005. In 2017, we disconnected and sold 10 acres to the Burnage family at their request. In 2018, we purchased 60 acres from the Weisman family in the near the intersection of Big Timber Road and Route 20. And last year, we entered into an agreement with the school district to entitle and sell 11 acres to the district for the construction of an elementary school. That last change is the primary reason we're here tonight. The school desires to build and open the school by fall of next year, which is a very tight schedule. But before they can do so, before they can purchase the property from us, we must entitle it so that they can begin construction. Their plan is to begin construction as soon as the weather allows this year, and they've been currently going through their final engineering process with the village. So there are a few changes on the plan you see before you compared to the original plan that we had submitted. At the request of the village board, we've been meeting with the park district to see if there's any of the park sites on this plan, if they'd be interested in any of those park sites to suit their needs. We identified 3 park sites, I'm happy to say, but the park district did request a few changes to those sites involving either location or size. We agreed to all of those changes, and those changes are reflected in this plan here. I'd also like to address a few concerns that were brought up at the Plan Commission public hearing. We heard a lot of comments and concerns regarding flooding that currently occurs up on Big Timber Road east of Route 20. The stormwater report that we submitted for this project shows that this plan will substantially mitigate a lot of those flooding issues, and we can certainly go into that if the commissioners wish to. Also, there was concerns about the removal or impacting of some of the mature tree groves on the site. We had our arborist go out to the site and revisit the site and revisit his original tree survey, and then compare this current plan with the original plan, or the currently entitled plan. And he is estimating with this plan approximately 1,400 to 1,800 mature trees, fewer trees will be impacted versus the original plan. And that's credit to our planner, who will be speaking shortly here. With his design to avoid those areas of the trees. There are some areas that are impacted by lots, but we've greatly reduced those impacts. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Rich so he can go through the plans, and then we'll open it up to questions with the board.
Thanks, Dan. Again, my name is Rich Olson. I'm with Gary R. Weber Associates. We're a landscape architecture land planning firm out of Wheaton, Illinois, and we did prepare the plan for your consideration tonight. First of all, I just want to thank you for the opportunity to be able to talk to you tonight about the plan and hopefully get some positive feedback as we move through the process. What I thought I'd do is just give you just a brief overview of some of the existing conditions and planning factors that we use to prepare the plan, walk you through the plan and some of the amenities that we're proposing, and then open it up for questions. As you're aware, the site is located generally south of Big Timber and east of Route 120. The site is fairly large. It's 560 acres in total, and it extends pretty far north to south. It also has a portion of it that even goes out to Route 47. Some of the things that we look at from an existing condition standpoint are things like access to the site, topography, and a really important component, which is the natural features of the site. From an access standpoint, we have really good access off of both Big Timber and Route 20, where both we're looking at 2 access points off of that. The site is, from a topography standpoint, it's not overly hilly. It does have a rolling terrain. It's got some low areas on it. And those low areas you'll see on the plan as we walk through it, and they're the natural areas of the site. And we're, of course, looking to preserve most of the wetlands that you see on the site, as well as a good portion of the trees that we can talk about later. The site is surrounded primarily by agriculture, and it also is primarily used for agricultural currently. So it's a pretty basic site from what it's being used now currently to what we're going to propose for. So just walking through the site, if we can it's a large site, so I thought I'd just start at the north a little bit and just kind of start to walk you through it a little bit and give you a flavor of what we're proposing. Our main access is off of Big Timber Road, where immediately we've got detention basins right at the entrance, and that'll be part of our nice entry feature. And we'll be developing an extensive landscape plan, and this will be well landscaped with really nice entry features. There's the main road, which I'm going to call a spine road. When it comes through the site, it acts as a collector road for individual pods that you see off to it. So right at the entrance there on the east side, you're going to see a residential pod A, and on the west side, you see the school site, which is a component that we've added since I've started working on this site, and it was just a great addition to the site. But it's right off of the entrance point off of Big Timber, which is a good location. So as you continue down that spine road, you run into an intersection there. At that main intersection, there's a large open space park component of about 10 acres. And it's a really nice spot. It's got some mature oak trees on it that are just beautiful. And we're going to preserve those on the site. It's got a small little grove of oak trees that are just, if you go out to that, it's just going to be a great addition to that park. And there's also some open components to that park. And part of that park will be turned over to the Park District for active play components as well. At that intersection, if you can actually continue out to Route 20, and there's three pods that are on the north and south side of it. You've got a duplex pod right off of Route 20. To the north, you have more single family, and to the south, you have single family. Just continuing on south on this collector road, you start to see a break in the lots, and that's a drainage way. It's also a natural area that we're going to be preserving. It'll also be an extension of the open space that people will be able to use and enjoy. This spine road that we developed is not only for vehicles, but it's also for the pedestrians to be able to access this site. Since it's such a long linear site, It's going to be great for recreation activities going up and down this site because there's parks all the way up and down this particular site. As you move along there a little bit, you have pods J, H, and I, and that's again an example of more single-family residential areas. And what's nice about these residential areas that we've developed, not only do you have open space on the outside, so you have the preserved natural areas and the trees, but we also have integrated park spaces on the interior. Those will be designed specifically for probably an active component. We'll probably be developing and coming back with play equipment and things like that for the single family residents. If it's an active adult pod, it might be more of just a seating area from that standpoint. So as you keep continuing south there, I'll try and keep it short, but you run into another gap of detention and floodplain and preserved natural area. Then you get into pod K, which again is another single family. You come to an intersection that allows you to eventually go back up to Big Timber Road, and that gets into our active adult portion of this community. You've got a combination of townhomes that are going to be essentially single-story ranch townhomes, which is a nice component, as well as single-family component off to the west of that spine road. And it's also a nice isolated area, so it's going to feel like it's a little bit more upgraded from the rest of the spots, and I think it'd be a great addition for the active adult users in this area. So just continuing south. Before I leave this spot, it's not shown on here, but just as you go out to Big Timber, there's a proposed future church site as well. There you go. It's right there on this. Yep. So as you continue south again, you start to go into this a break again. So there's a kind of a neat cadence theme to this site. You got the natural area component that we're preserving, and then it goes into another series of pods, which the nice thing about this site is it seemed at the start to be sort of dysfunctional and sort of scattered, but it ended up being just this really nice series of pods that have open space features all through it. There's about 50% open space to this entire plan that's spread out all over the site, which is great. It's not just confined to one space. So as we get into L, M, and N, again, more pods of single family residents. And then we added in this last revision, a really nice, large, dedicated park site that was where the old farmstead was. We used to have houses there, but there's a bunch of nice trees there. So again, we decided to open that back up. And this is actually a site that the Park District eventually ended up saying, hey, let's utilize this maybe for a dedicated park. So we were able to work that in. The active adult on the east side of the road also opens up to a pathway system at the end of the cul-de-sac that will then lead out into the larger open space area that will actually end up connecting out to Route 47 to the east. So you'll have a pedestrian connection from that standpoint. And I just see this spot as a space that is going to be preserved forever. It's going to be a spot that people can go out and enjoy and get away from everything. So as we continue down to the southern eastern portion of the site, we've integrated the different pods on either side of, there's an easement that runs sort of diagonal through the site. And that easement allows us to also put in a nice little pathway system through there and even further connect those smaller pods to the south and to the east. And it's a mix of townhomes. We've got some single family in there and a couple more parks. So just from a general standpoint, from the numbers standpoint, we're proposing a variety of housing types, which I think Chris can touch on later. But that's what separates this plan from the previous plan. This plan has everything from traditional single family to active adult townhomes, ranch townhomes, traditional two-story townhomes. And we're proposing a total of 1,013 units broken up into approximately 797 of them are what you would consider a traditional housing type. So you have your residential single family of 2 different lot sizes, as well as duplexes and traditional townhomes. And then we're proposing 216, what we call sort of an active adult type home style with a mix of ranch townhomes and single family. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Dan, but I'll just say that we're super excited about this plan. I think we've really put a lot of thought into it, and we're excited, and we're hoping that you agree.
Thanks, Rich. That's our presentation, so we'd love to answer any questions that the board may have.
Well, can you break it down as far as numbers, as far as lot sizes are concerned? How many sizes of what lot, blah, blah, blah?
Oh, sure. Yeah. We have so we have a mix of on the traditional single family, we've got 9,100 square foot lots and 7,800 square foot lots, and we've got about 216 of the 9,100 square foot lots and 400 of the 7,800 square foot lots. We've got 50 duplex homes, which is a small component, which is in the north area. And we've got only 90 or a small amount of traditional townhomes. Then we do have a breakup of adults, which we're looking at about 54 of the ranch townhomes, as well as 162. Oh, he's got the site data right up there for us. 162 of the active adult style housing.
Oh, okay. I didn't catch that sheet. Okay.
A question, if I may, on the active adult, are you going to be requiring separate real estate taxing?
No, that's not the intention.
At Big Timber, the main entrance, will there be stop and go lights? Will they be necessary?
No, we prepared a traffic study that we've submitted to the village and KDOT and IDOT for review, and the traffic study indicates that signals will not be warranted at any of the access points.
Thank you.
That's good.
Yeah, really.
Anybody on the board, anybody else, any comments, any comments, questions?
I didn't see the access points on to 20.
Yeah, there's two access points right where he's pointing on the page there, just to the north, as well as way down to the south. There's another additional access point.
So the access point to the south, Josh, if you go down a little bit, I realize the new Allen Road alignment is not shown in this plan, but that our access point there was, we worked with IDOT to align our access with the Allen Road realignment. So that the intention in 2005 was that road through our community would be an extension of Allen Road, and presumably at some point the property to the south would connect. We would continue that roadway.
Yeah, so Allen would curl right into it.
Has IDOT approved all these access roads?
They have not yet. In 2005, we had consultation with them as far as where these access points were located in terms of site distances and whatnot. So, and they agreed at the time that these are the best locations for those. But as you're probably aware, it's a long process to get access permits from the state, and it starts with the traffic study, and they're reviewing that currently.
Thank you.
I think that Allen Road is going to be problematic without a traffic light. That's a very dangerous corner.
Yeah, it was very dangerous before the realignment. It's much better now, of course, but we will certainly. Obviously, IDOT is very aware of the whole issue there, and when they redid the curve a few years ago with Allen Road, safety was the primary reason for that. And certainly, as we develop our site and get the permit for that, we'll be they'll make sure that it is safe turning movements and whatnot.
Looking.
Any more questions from the board? Can I have a quick show of hands of the persons that filled out the affidavit to speak? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I only have 5 sheets.
I got one.
You got one. Okay. One at a time, we'll call, if whoever, they have questions or comment. The first one would be, Wes Braces.
Evening, gentlemen. Wes Brazes, Hampshire, Illinois. I requested some information from the village as to how prepared the village is to absorb this development, and I was quite disappointed. The Village of Hampshire traffic plan, and the village doesn't have one. And that goes more to the cars on the road and things like that, but some other things, you have a salt budget, you buy salt every year to plow your streets, you're gonna have to buy a whole lot more salt. And salt is a pollutant in our water. So how much more pollution is this village going to cause to the waters that are already restricted under the 303D listed impairment calls of the Illinois EPA? Hampshire's potable water management plan doesn't account for this growth either. You have a sewage treatment plant that has 2.76 million gallons a day design average flow. Your potable water plan up to 2050 is only 1.2 pumpable million gallons a day. There's a huge mishmash here. And you've had 15 years to like figure this out. Number of platted but vacant lots. You have over 2,900 vacant lots currently. You're building homes about 50 to 60 a year. That's 4 to 5 decades of building before we get close to building this out. Flooding. I can pass out a couple pictures to the board. First one. First one is at the entrance of Oakstead off of Big Timber Road. This is from last spring, where you see the overtopping of Big Timber Road, causing a very high traffic hazard. We're going to put more traffic on Big Timber. One of the later speakers will talk about all the accidents that are already occurring when we have these storm events. So it's not a matter of just taking care of the water that falls on the property. It's reducing the water that leaves the property because the receiving stream along Big Timber Road can't handle that. It can't handle it today. The second photo is on the Wiesman property, and it shows a stream running down that property. Where the plowed field begins is pretty much the dividing line of where the school site is. So again, it's not only the floodplain that's already platted and mapped, but there's a lot of surface flow that is not floodplain that comes into this property that has to be properly detained and mitigated and not cause further flooding. And then of the floodplain that is there, they're building on parts of it. How much? And how is that mitigated? Also, the wetlands, we're going to, they're going to destroy some. So how are those being replaced on site? It's not shown in the nice plan. I don't know. Does the board know? Oh, and there's a big rush to build a school, but there's no 401 and 404 permits in progress. You can't build unless you have a 401s and 404s in place. So, in summary, You know, the village has had 15, 20 years to get ready for this. And what I'm seeing is they haven't. Okay, so let's not make the problem worse. Let's fix what we already have and not approve this so the board has the confidence they can absorb this development responsibly. Thank you.
Anyone from Crown, would you like to respond to this or?
Just to the flooding concerns, again, King County ordinance and our stormwater report does show that we think we can mitigate the flooding substantially up in that area by, with our detention. And that includes, flow that's coming onto our property now, flow that we create with the impervious surface. And then we will discharge it at a low rate where the flooding will be mitigated for the 100-year storm and less. So I'm very confident of that.
Any response to his statement about the school?
I can't speak for the school. They're on their own path. For entitlement, we are working together, obviously, with their engineers, our engineers, and we have a good partnership with the school, but I haven't been involved with their entitlement process.
This is Brian Kerner with Dewberry Architects. I'm the architect for the new school for District 300. I did not hear the question. Could you repeat it, please?
The first person from the audience that spoke made a statement about, what was it, Wes, about
404 and 401 permits.
Say it again, I didn't hear it.
404 and 401 permits.
He made the statement that you haven't applied for 404 and 401 permits, I guess.
I'm not specifically aware of what those permits are. Could you explain what they are?
Section 401 is Clean Water Act permit for your discharges of stormwater and whatever else you're going to discharge. And 404 is the wetland mitigation plan.
So I can interject. There are no wetlands on the school site, so they wouldn't be subject to that. There has been a wetland study, and it has been submitted for jurisdictional determination.
Okay, just to clarify, would that be the developer's responsibility to take care of that if you're selling a piece of property to the district, or is it the school district's responsibility?
So there are no wetlands on the site, so there's nothing to take care of on the school site.
We will call the next person from the audience would be Mr. Mike Pickles, 17N 624 Victim Road.
Thank you. I live adjacent to the property, and my big concern again comes back to the water issue. And I keep hearing the words substantially. I've heard the word substantially multiple times. That you're confident you can substantially handle the water flow or reduce the water flow from your property. What does that mean?
So King County ordinance requires us to detain the 100-year flood and less on our property for, again, water generated by our property, water coming into our property. So when those big storms that are occurring now are flooding your property, anything less than a 100-year storm which has a 1% chance of occurring at any event, will be detained within our property for the King County ordinance, and that's utilizing current rainfall data which has been adjusted recently, to about 20. We're required to increase our detention ponds about 20% to take on the current rainfall as is calculated.
Okay. And then, so any rain or any rainfall comes across your property and it goes into the detention ponds then. And there's a detention pond that seems to be rather large that goes all along my property line. In theory, then, the ideal is that water is supposed to go into that detention pond and flow, I believe, west to another detention pond.
It'll flow north to, Josh, if you can.
Or north.
Yeah, it'll flow north, and then it'll cross under, this will be the low discharge from the pond. It'll flow north to that detention pond, and then it'll go, the low flow will go into underneath Big Timber Road into the storm system within the Lakewood project.
And now you said that's the low discharge from the pond.
Correct.
Is there something called a high discharge from the pond?
No, so what happens when the storm is, when detention ponds need to discharge the water at a lower rate, you know, after the storm event, right? So so that'll go through the piping, you know, and slowly bring down the storm water within that pond. Okay, and it'll go through the piping, and it'll work its way through the system in Lakewood. It will not be discharged at all onto your property.
Okay, okay. All right.
Guaranteed.
Yeah.
It's shown in our stormwater management report that we submitted.
And would you mind if I walked up and pointed at something here? I'm just curious about, and that is, I think this is ours. This is all behind us now. What would this be? This kind of.
I apologize. I can't see what you're pointing at. Josh, maybe you could pull it up.
Well, you see what I'm talking about?
Right where he's got it, the handle.
Okay.
Yeah, there's like it doesn't show it, it shows kind of an end, something coming out and around there.
Yeah, that's a wetland area that we're impacting a bit, but we're not impacting the area beyond that area adjacent to the property there.
Area adjacent to the property. So that's not going to be part of the detention then?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah. The detention is within the contour lines, the thicker lines that you see going around. There you go.
Okay. I got you. Okay. Okay. And then I have one more question. Could you raise that map up a little bit? Just a little bit. There's maybe a little bit more. Currently, right in this area, kind of on the corner of our property right in here.
Mm-hmm.
There's a big stand of oak trees and kind of a wooded area. Is that still there?
So the area you're
it.
that area there, so there is, and I'm not sure exactly where the trees are. There are trees in that area certainly, but that's mainly floodplain and the riparian corridor there. There are some trees on the lots just to the south of there. That would be the area that is most that we're most impacting the trees. That might be the area you're speaking of.
Yeah. It's like the corner of our lot actually, which is here. Wait, where am I? You're up here.
I believe that area there is an enthusiast.
Right in here is all trees right now.
Yeah, we are not planning to impact those.
You're gonna impact those?
We are not.
No, you aren't. Okay.
We are retaining those as open space.
Okay, so that'll all stay there, so we won't have a nice view of it.
That's correct.
Okay. All right. Anything else? Got a guarantee? All right.
Yeah, get it.
Shown on the plan.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Anybody on the board got any questions or comments at this point?
So far, I mean,
Third person would be Melissa G.
Governor.
Okay.
I'm just, again, wanting the same as everyone else with this flooding. We live in Lakewood Crossing. I'm on the HOA. And the videos that I have of Ridgecrest coming out to Big Timber are ridiculous. I mean, it's really deep. Like monster trucks were going through it and it was coming over the hood. you know, so if their water's coming this way and our water's coming this way, where's all the water going? You know, is it just gonna push back into Lakewood and into these people's yards and things like that, or back into our detention area that we pay to care for, which is very expensive. So I just want to make sure that this water that's going to come from them, and they keep saying they think they can, you know, take care of it or mitigate it, but there's no promises. So I'm just wondering who's going to pay for that when if it doesn't happen that they think is going to happen.
Mr. Chairman, Tim Paulson is on the line, and Tim, if you could respond to the question from a Lakeview resident about the impact of the project on Lakeview.
Yes. Jay, sorry, I couldn't find my cursor to unmute myself. So just a couple of points about the stormwater ordinance. So there is a stormwater ordinance, as we've discussed, and their plan will be compliant with the stormwater ordinance. And the stormwater ordinance does require that they detain and reduce the rate of runoff from their property. And the other point I guess I'd like to speak to is that they're not adding new, they're not directing areas that are not currently draining towards Lakewood to Lakewood. So the existing drainage areas and release points are remaining the same. So there will be the water that's currently going from this property to Big Timber and that causes some of those flooding problems will be detained and released at a reduced rate post-development, and so there will be less water coming onto Lakewood and through the Lakewood system through that to that wetland area in Lakewood. And then the third point is that when Lakewood was designed, they extended storm sewers to Big Timber and across Big Timber and stubbed to go across Big Timber to accept the water from this development that is tributary to it. So it was planned and sized to accept the developed condition water off of the Oakstead development from this northern area.
But can't keep up with it now.
No.
So, you know, what we put in as a village can't keep up with what we have now. So how's it gonna keep up with more?
Well, there will be less water being released off of Oakstead than now. So the infrastructure that was put into Lakewood was sized to be the size for the flow that will come off of, you know, this property in the post-development condition, which was what was required by ordinance. So there will be less water coming off of this property towards Lakewood. When I say less, I mean the peak rate of flow. So the highest water flows in the, you know, design event from the ordinance, the 100-year event, will be lower than they are currently after the development.
I love that 100-year event.
Yeah.
Every year, twice at least the last 12 years, you know, so interesting. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. I'm gonna call the next person.
This is Mike Kerner with Dewberry Architects again. I just contacted my civil engineer. He said that the 401 permit was submitted in early February, and we should have the permit in the next few weeks.
Okay. I think the gentleman asked a question about the land.
So I just walked up to the back of your property and I see you did quite a bit of grading and reseeding. What do you want to explain to the village what you did? Because your water is running down onto the Crown property.
No.
Yeah, you have new grass waterways from the back of your truck parking area all the way over down the middle of your property, and it dumps into the Crown property.
We're here to talk about the Crown property.
But you're feeding your water onto them. And they have wetlands right beside it.
Okay.
They have tiles that are sometimes working, sometimes not, and flooding into that wetland too.
Mhm.
You know, you have 80 acres of water that's draining onto their property.
Well, there's way more than that. It comes from the west side of Route 20.
Yeah, but yours, that's on your property. You have Newgrass waterways. It's flowing today. I was there.
Okay.
Okay, Iron Burnage, we have about a half a mile of frontage on the Crown property, and about a fourth of a mile is receiving water from as far away as the neighbors. So I guess what I'm concerned about is the flooding. It does flood across the road. We are right along Big Timber Road. It fills up all the land below the Crown properties between Big Timber Road, and if you want to go on the map here, we're talking about this stretch of the road, okay? And there is a small box culvert right here. It's 4 feet wide, 3 feet tall. This area floods. This whole area floods. Carl's land is right here, and it's flooding right through here, filling all this up, going across into Ms. Burton's property. Now, it's been going on ever since you and I are almost the same age. In fact, your brother's a year younger. So I know you guys farmed that a long time. I think it was 1978, but you guys were there before me.
We farmed that since 1970.
There you go. But that first year that I planted that field, it flooded on June 3rd, right up over the road.
Mm-hmm.
And also into my basement, like a little geyser, because it backed up all the drain tiles. Now that road's been paved a lot of times since 42 years ago.
Absolutely.
That's a problem. I realize that you're upstream. They have to take your water. And I'm downstream, and I have to take that water. But, so my question for District 300, now that they're here, how many vehicles and buses are already going down Big Timber Road? Because the district is just ending just beyond the high school. The high school has paid parking for teenagers, and there's 50, 60 buses at a time going past my property. We were just there this afternoon trying to fix the fence, putting up new fence right across from Ms. Burton. Many, many, many buses, many, many cars. And when that water floods across the road, there's accidents there. That water comes across more than enough to wash out the gravel on the north side. The water is about 210 feet long, and at the deepest, it's about 4 inches. We have a problem, and it's been going on a long time. Now, the county, the village can help us, or they can choose not to. One of the questions is, and there's been 3 bad bus accidents that I know of. One was Caneland. The driver hit a culvert. Bus caught fire. The kids were burned. One of the kids that was on that bus, he just passed away. We saw his kids and his widow this year. There was a wreck on Route 20. The bus was stopped to pick up some kids. Another car slammed into that bus. Another car slammed into that car, burst into flames. And I skidded off the road on the side. I think that little car, that person died. And of course, we've all heard about Carrie. Everybody got sued. And I don't know if it's in the village or in the county or what. I kind of accidentally went by the bus, which was parked somewhere out in the middle of nowhere for a couple of years till they've resolved it. So maybe there's 3 lawyers here tonight. Maybe they can tell us who's going to be responsible for these lawsuits and how it all happens. Because Ms. Stentuzziak, Pickles, us, we own the land under Big Timber Road. So Carl probably won't get sued because he's upstream beyond Crown. But something's going to happen there. The water is probably 5 feet deep. You can stand out there with the level and see it for yourself. It's not flooded right now. But the water coming out of the woods that you guys are saving right here is flowing onto them Zuziaks right now, 50 feet long, maybe 1.5 inches deep, just from snow melt. Then it goes around her pond, then it flows. It's almost down to the right of way at dark. So once this all fills up, then it goes over the road. It's a problem. The county can help that and the village can help that. And Crown has all this information because they went up and down that road, marked all the trees. There's still railroad tie spikes in those big poles where they shot the grade 15 years ago. Something can happen there. It's pretty likely to happen. But there's accidents where kids are rear-ending other kids right now, every time it floods. So I guess as a village, would you ask Crown to submit that information, or would you get your own engineer to submit that information to fix the flooding over the road before you allow another school? This bridge is, it says 1930 right on it. In fact, back where that water's coming across, and I asked you about it before, is the outhouse spaces from the WPA camp. They're still there.
Yeah.
That built that bridge in 1930. That's a long time ago. You have to be about 103 to have worked in the WPA because her uncles worked there, but they're both gone. So we know from the previous owner that Nemtuzak's drain tile is just a little thing about 5 inches. We know that Pickle's drain tile is about 10 inches.
It's about 8, but.
And they're both still flowing onto Miss Burton underneath the bottom of that bridge. The problem with that bridge is it has a concrete floor. Otherwise, somebody could have crawled in there. It's 3 feet high. I could crawl in there still, shovel that dirt out and let the water out. That is a possibility. The county's going to replace the bridge sooner or later. You might as well help them now. So I still haven't really heard, I guess I have some idea that this water is going to go that way. So where is this water going to go? Is this water still going to go over here and flood across the road? It's flowing today, right through there. It's flowing today, 4 feet wide, 2 inches deep onto my property. Tonight, like 2 hours ago. It's coming through and it hasn't rained or snowed or anything for months. Winter's the dry season, you know, and we only had 16 inches of snow, which is 1.6 inches of rain. We get about 4. The last time it flooded over the road was last week of May because we were going to plant sweet corn, couldn't do a thing. Going to plant potatoes, couldn't do a thing, and they were repaving the road. Oh, we're going to scrape it off, make it not add anything. Yeah, they took off about 1 inch and added 3. Because now the road's plenty thick enough, and I can see it at the end of my driveway. I go up to get on Big Timber Road now. It's major. That's what's holding back the water. Plus the road's a little bit wider. Now there's going to be another 40 buses or 60 buses. I don't really know. The architect knows. You can help us. You can help yourself. There's going to be a lawsuit. Somebody's going to get hurt or killed. If a car flips over, the kid's going to drown. You know, that's pretty basic. At our own house, we have a sump pump in the well pit. The well pit's only about 5'6" deep, same as probably your dad's farm, you know. And then we have 5 sump pumps in the house because when that starts flooding across the road, my house is way over here. It floods up all this up, then it starts coming this way and it comes up the drain tile into my basement. And then it floods my whole front yard, a couple inches deep. And I have a cone out there for the high water mark, pretty close to the house. And then it flows onto the Crown property this way. And I just checked their culvert again. The county kind of screwed it up the last time they messed with it, and it's tipped. And there's water in the ditch. But if it gets any deeper, it'll flow out. And then Tuesday has a barn. Her barn is right here. When you drive down Big Timber Road, you can see that barn in the back. That's a high water mark. So the last time in May was within about 1.5 inches being on the floor of that barn. The barn was totally surrounded with water, you know, but maybe this time it'll be in the barn because the road's paved again. That's a problem. I think she said she had her basement waterproofed, and the sump pumps are outside of the basement now. But I still have a question. Well, my dad and my uncle paid to have the drainage district cleaned out from here all the way to the tollway. But that was 40 years ago. You know, normally a drainage district, and we had another house in a drainage district in Virgil. They charge you about $2 an acre, and about every 50 years, they go through, cut the trees, drag line it out. So they're constantly working in that district, but they have like 50 miles to cover. It's a pretty major deal, but that would be something that you could think about here. But all the rest of their lands is flood. You're never gonna walk to Route 47 from Carl's house to Carl's parents' house. The flood, it's half a mile of water. You can't see it because it's covered with grass, but Crown seeded it with an airplane. That's how they seeded it 15 years ago. So the trees that are back there, they haven't updated the inventory. It's a 15-year-old inventory or more. The tags are still on the trees. There's no trees that are tagged that are 5 to 6 inches across because those trees weren't there or they were just little buggy whips. Because we just cut a tree that was touching the house and she would have cut it down when she painted the house 15, 16 years ago. So I just cut that tree and used it for a teepee pole. It's like 4 inches across, right by my house. But those nice trees are native oaks, red cherry, the black cherry, like this is walnut, but black cherry, pin oaks, some nice pin oaks, some huge trees out there. And then there's all the different inventory that was in the nursery. There was about 70 acres of nursery there. So you have basswoods and spruce and all kinds of different trees. And those basswood clumps, 5, 6 inches across coming out, none of those are marked. Those are all going to be under pavement. This whole area here that they're talking about, this is native timber that's never been cut. You know, that's nice. This was a white oak hand split fence post here when I moved there. This will all be gone because you can't put all these houses in there. That's going to be a problem. Another problem is going to be over here. Because this is you want to move this up, please? I need to go up. Yeah. Your park site. The township line is it a Hampshire Park District or a town park district? Is it a Hampshire Fire Department?
Hampshire Park District.
Hampshire Township?
Hampshire Township Park District.
Okay, so this subdivision is split into 2 townships. So the site they want to leave as a park is going to be stuck in your HOA down there because that's Sunderland's homestead is Rutland Township because the township Hampshire line is your side fence and my back corner. So you gotta have a little more plan. And another problem is Rutland Township Fire Department. We're gonna have the same problem Lakewood had. How do you get to the damn houses? So at Lakewood, here comes the hook and ladder from Huntley. What's Huntley going down my road for with their big hook and ladder? Well, they're going to Lakewood. Too many damn houses, no parking, can't get in. Huntley solved it by putting in another fire station on the other side of the tollway. You know, you allowed it and somebody else had to deal with it. Not so good. Same with Rutland Township. I mean, some of those houses are Rutland Township.
correct me if I'm wrong, if this all gets annexed into the village, what difference does it make in the township?
Is the fire department gonna leave Hampshire Township to come put out the fire at my house?
Sure. If it's in Hampshire Village,
Not in the village.
Incorporated.
So you're gonna come down here and put out the fire in Finger Grove and Fireside District? Over here? I don't think so. And then what about the ambulance calls? These are senior housing.
if it's the village.
They call it the meat wagon. You can have this table until they come here and talk to you about it. Because Rutland would be happy to talk to you. They want to put up another fire barn. Piggy Grove, Rutland Township. They got a problem. You know,
This is Chief Herman from the Hampshire Fire Department, if I can speak.
great.
First of all, that is the Pingree Grove Fire Protection District.
Thank you.
And the east side of that subdivision will be protected by Fire Station number 3 in Pingree Grove, which is at 72 in ranking.
Thank you.
We are currently in the plans of building another fire station. It's going to be a little bit of a process, but we are in the process of putting that together, which if everything works out right, it'll be very close to the Hampshire High School.
Okay.
And with that also being said, you had mentioned Huntley's ladder truck comes into Lakewood. The reason they come into Lakewood is because they're on automatic mutual aid with us. Anytime we get a structure fire, they are dispatched with us as well as us going to them. That's why you see that ladder truck. And I've already briefly talked to Pingree Grove's chief. And because our station will eventually be closer when it's built, we will respond to that whole subdivision on auto wait until they get there.
Okay.
I hope that answers some of your questions.
That helps. Will you also come to my farm?
Honestly, sir, I don't know exactly where you live, but if you live pretty close to that subdivision, that auto aid agreement will be worked out.
I'm surrounded on 3 sides by it.
Okay, yeah, then more than likely that'll be part of the auto aid agreement.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
I guess we could ask for a donation to Pingree Grove to help pay for the new stuff they're gonna need. You know, or you could ask for a donation to Hampshire. That'll help the rest of your town out too.
So the Crown Corporation will be giving impact and transition fees.
I know that. I know that.
Well, you just asked the question, that's the answer.
Well, but definitely you would go above and beyond. Sure. You know, done before. So in summary, y'all were promised a lot 15 years ago, and you know that. There was a border promised for the whole subdivision. I didn't see it on the plan. You want to call it the plan again? I don't see the border here on my property line. Don't see the border here on my property line. There was a border promise. There was a replacement for all those trees that were going to be cut. That, actually, this is on a 300-pound gas main, this piece right here, so that there's a gas main right here. So I don't know what you're gonna do about that, but the other two gas mains are clear cut. We just walked on one today, the one that leaked before. It's jet fuel. But that one by me is 300-pound natural gas going to the high school. Anyway, we were promised a lot. It's been 16 years. All the trees are growing up. It's been a slow flip for Cone. They have deals going all the way from the East Coast to the West Coast and probably Florida. You know, we still have a drainage problem. We still have more cars rear-ending in the water. So village, can you be a good neighbor and do the right thing? Can you be a good neighbor? Can you be a good neighbor and ask for the right thing? Carl, can you ask for the right thing?
This is the zoning board of appeals.
I know that, but you could ask for something. You've been here a long time. You were here 15 years ago. Yeah.
I've been asking to leave and they won't let me.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure that these changes
To that, right?
are gonna be here longer than that bridge, because that bridge has already been here 91 years. So that's what I have to say tonight. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, sir.
Does anyone from Crown have any response to Mr. Burnage's questions, statements?
We do not.
Excuse me?
No.
No, okay. Anybody on the board have any questions?
No.
No. Our next person from the audience would be Barbara Burton.
Do you have any children's calls you can put up for me? Aha. Well, I guess before I say anything, and I will hand this to the board. You can see how high the water goes up on the vehicles going down the street. Here's leftover remains on my property from an accident. Okay. Show and tell. Lane probably knows a little bit better on sizes of things, but you can see which force this comes out under the Big Timber Road onto my property. Well, kind of trying to see sideways here. I believe this is flooding where it's taking all of the gravel off the side of the road and down into my ditch, I believe. I can't really tell. This is the county truck that has to be called many times to put signs up saying water on the road. You can see the water going down the ditch into, I guess you call it the drainage ditch that runs north up to the toll road. You can see how high the water is. I guess you got one of my tree pictures. You can see.
Separate picture trees, Mr. Bird.
Oh, okay. You can see the old heritage trees that will be taken down, no matter what they say. It's not on their plans. You don't see any little tree symbols, so they won't be there. I found this, and I did want to read it from a fellow citizen. I'll do it before I start my little spiel. Okay. Says, this person states, Crown's expert witnesses have not used the latest materials. Crown's experts have not demonstrated grasp of what should have been included in necessary studies. Crown is doing minimal things to preserve the aquifer. Crown does not show a willingness to make any changes to help protect the aquifer for future generations because they plan deep wells. The final care of the aquifer could be left in the hands of the homeowners association with voluntary compliance. Crown was unwilling to establish a fund for educating homeowners to how to reduce contaminants. The numbers that were used as far as water usage are different than what is presently being used by current residents. No studies have been done as to how much water is actually available. There is not an environmental impact study done for these developments. Now, I think we're kind of all talking about this current development that they're doing. Although this was written back in 2005. Now, how much of that has changed? I think Lane kind of hit the head on right on that too. Nothing's really changed in 16 years. People of the world are learning more about the environment, and the effects. But why has nothing seemed to be changed? All right, that little spiel. My biggest question is, and I don't know if you can answer it for me now, but how can the current board and the commissions allow Crown to slide by with a yes vote for all of their new, completely changed plan? Now, it was voted yes in 2005 for a completely different plan. That was for 811 homes, no school,
different entrances. There needs to be a whole new line of voting. Matter of fact, the Plan Commission was very confused as to what they were even voting on that night. This is a new plan, increased with another probably almost 300 homes plus a school. Why are the yes votes for the 2005 plan, which doesn't match anything hardly on this new plan? The next question is how any of the people recommending or voting for this development can honestly vote on it when the studies were not given to you in time to completely study them properly. Oh yeah, that's right. You haven't gotten all the studies. Not all the studies are completed. Not all the studies are updated. But yet the Planning Commission voted yes, and I'm assuming they didn't have these studies, especially the updated ones, to read before their votes. You're voting tonight. The trustees are voting next week. Unless everyone in all these commissions are retired, have no families, have nothing to do but sit and do a proper time reading these studies, how can there be votes on them? And also, do you have anything in writing that shows the development lighting will conform to studies showing how to properly use lighting as to have less impact on the environment? Again, why does it seem this whole issue of the development is being railroaded through with all worse impact than before in 2005? Nothing has been changed that will help any of us out there in unincorporated Hampshire. Will those voting finally stand up and say, let's just slow down a bit? I'm not against development. I've said that many times. The Village of Hampshire should welcome the development, but only if it's done properly. Another thing which we've kind of been teeing in the audience about, they say 100-year flood plan. Well, I'm pretty darn old, and I know my memory's not so good, but it seems to me, not quite 100 yet, but I've seen an awful lot of floods. So if it's a 100-year plan, they missed that completely. They're talking about the mitigation. Are there guarantees? I want to guarantee that the flooding is not going to be worse on my property. It won't impact. What happens when it fills up your wetlands? It becomes a pond. Where does the pond go? You know, we need guarantees. I don't believe you can guarantee because you aren't even going to try. The trees, if they are left, they should be fenced off properly so construction equipment aren't running over the roots. We went through this in 2005. I'm 70 years old. Why am I back here saying this to everybody? It's been 16 years. Between E and J, I think the question Lane also brought up is that's a natural drainage. And where is that water going to go? Where are you mitigating it so it's no longer going down my ditch or even onto my property? And are you aware that there is an intergovernmental agreement with the county with stoplights that were supposed to be positioned about every half mile from Route 47 past Route 20 down Big Timber? Anybody know if it's still in effect? Let's not all raise our hands at once. Okay, that's another thing that should be looked into. So, you know, I don't know why the citizens need to, well, yeah, we need to be here. But, okay, this is off record. Those that don't know, those that don't know Wes Brazes, this is what he does. The government has sent him to Fallujah. They've sent him to different countries. He puts infrastructure together. when he stands up here and says, where's this report, that report? You know, he knows what he's talking about. For Hampshire to have a citizen like that, that can actually help them, I would think they would take him a little bit more seriously. That's just my opinion, but, you know. So anyway, that's my little spiel for the evening, my little show and tell. You are aware that the water coming over the road, there's been many accidents. They usually end up in my ditch. Luckily, they have not hit a fence. Luckily, there's been no deaths. They've left a few odds and ends pieces of their vehicles in my ditch. The water has taken the gravel, put it in my ditch, cost me more to have it mowed because of all the gravel that washes down in my ditch. So let's just think a little bit about this whole zoning thing. And I know you're just zoning, but we must look at the full event of everything. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody on the board got any comment or question for any of the representatives from the crowd?
So, excuse me, Carl, they never did answer my question, or you guys didn't, or anybody. Why has the old agreement, which was 2005, and that was voted yes on, why is that slid through on this whole different plan? Why are you not doing a separate vote?
Good question for Mr. Schuster, I would say.
Okay, I'm still here.
Hello, I'm still here. I didn't catch the entire question. Why was what about 2005?
I believe Mrs. Burton is referring to the plan, the comprehensive plan, I believe, that they submitted in 2005, and this preliminary plan here doesn't.
This plan, development plan, does not match the development plan that was voted yes on in 2005.
That's correct. That's the whole
Because
reason for this hearing, is that it's being changed.
So now they're voting now tonight on a whole new plan, just not the school site, the zoning. Because this plan that they've got now has got close to 300 more houses on it, plus the school site.
Yes, Ms. Burton, that's the whole point. The answer to your question is yes. The zoning board is called on to vote on two questions tonight. One would be the zoning for the Weisman Farm property that's being added in. And the second is to recommend or not the revised preliminary plan for the entire development. It is being revised. That's the whole point of this exercise.
Okay.
Are we good?
So what did just one more. So when the planning voted, did they vote on the exact same two questions?
They did.
Okay. Now I know. That's what I asked.
Okay. Anybody on the board have any question or comment?
Can I ask the planning members a question? There's a couple of them.
If they're willing to answer. I don't know if they can speak. They're not sworn in. Oh, yes, okay.
Apologize, what was the question?
Well, I wanted to know if I could ask you a question.
Now, the point tonight is to make comments or ask questions of the petitioner. So are there any other persons present who signed up to speak, Mr. Chairman?
One more.
Okay.
Sure that.
Brian, is it MRUC?
I actually did not sign up to speak. I just signed the affidavit just in case I had to speak.
Oh, okay. Then we are finished with comments from the public.
No, we're going to ask if anybody online, anybody attending remotely also wishes to make a comment. Is there any member of the public who's attending by virtual means this evening who wants to comment to the petitioner or ask a question? Going once? All right, apparently there's no one who's online who wishes to participate in the hearing other than to listen in. So then the next order of business, Mr. Chairman, be if there's any additional questions from any members of your board.
I believe not. Does anyone from representing Crown have anything to add at this point?
We do not.
Okay.
Then it would seem appropriate to close the public hearing.
Make a motion to close the public hearing at 8:21.
Mr. Chairman, you need to take a roll call vote on that, please.
I'm getting to it.
Yes, take your time.
You propose that, Hank? I did. And Rich, you seconded, right? Correct. Bill, how say you?
Aye.
So, nay. Carl?
Closing the meeting.
I don't believe the chairman.
Closing the meeting, I'm sorry. All right, aye. Sorry, wrong one. Carl wasn't voting. Okay, Hank? Aye. Okay. And Rich? Aye. Okay. Get ahead of myself. There you go. I don't know myself very well. Okay, public hearing is still.
Okay, gentlemen, ready to entertain a motion?
I will make a motion to recommend approval of the zoning amendment for certain property as legally described in position zoning. And to be added to the Oakstead subdivision.
Yes, sir.
And so. So I vote nay. Carl?
I don't vote.
Vote. Hank? Yes. Aye. Rich? Yeah. Bill?
Aye.
Need you to vote, Carl?
Aye.
Okay.
So, Mr. Secretary, was that 4-1, four aye and 1 nay?
3-2. 3 ayes, 2 nays.
All right, then the chairman should vote.
He did.
Oh, I'm sorry. I can't tell always who's speaking when from this vantage point.
Okay, this is the secretary, and I voted nay. Carl voted aye as a necessity. Hank voted aye. Rich voted nay, and Bill voted aye.
All right, so it's 3-2.
3-2.
Thank you.
Problem.
There's a second question before the board this evening.
Entertain a motion for B. On B, I should say.
Okay, I'll go with it. I'll make the motion to recommend approval of the revised preliminary development plan for the Oakstead subdivision in the village. I'll second. Okay. Hank? No. Nay. Rich?
Nay.
Bill?
Aye.
So, nay. It's 3-1 negative.
1-3, okay. Lastly, then, will you authorize the chair to report these results to the Board of Trustees?
I'll make a motion to authorize our chairman to publish the, to approve the motion on behalf of the ZBA.
Second.
Rich?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
So, aye. Hank? Aye. Okay. Oh, Rich? No, that's.
4-0.
4-0. We're good.
Okay, then, next order of business.
And I believe the next order of business is a request to amend the existing village zoning regulations of municipal code involving the interchange overlay district. In regards to signage and graphics.
We do.
Mr. Chairman, if I may just make a comment, this is Jay Hedges, the village manager. You had asked us several times when we brought before you variances. Just your check. We've had several requests for variances for lighting up near the truck stop area. And at the last couple of zoning board meetings, you had asked us to draft an amendment that would not require variances. So that's what we've done. Josh Ray, my assistant, has drafted the amendments that you have before you that would bring code up to basically where the lights are now, so that a maximum of 100 feet would be allowed now, as opposed to the current code that says 80 feet. And so there no variances would be required. So essentially a new truck stop coming in to build what's existing.
There now.
Yes, what you had requested and the village board requested the same thing. But there's obviously more detail to that in terms of the square footage of signs and so forth. But essentially what we're recommending is what's there now for the future truck.
Which we've been asking for.
Yeah,
Right.
Mark, I believe, we're going to entertain a motion. Has this been forwarded to the planning commission also, or?
No, that doesn't.
Yes, it has. And this is a public hearing on this question, so you need to see if anyone is going to comment on it from the public.
Okay. Does anybody here have any wish to speak when you open the public hearing? So
Got along for 23, 823.
Nobody here to speak?
What are we speaking on?
That's
Signage, graphics.
Changing the sign up at the truck stop area.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, and old, and not good appearing. Okay. All right, thanks.
Mark, do you have any input on this?
Well, the idea has been to reduce the number of applications that would address the height, primarily the height of signs to be placed in the I-90 US 20 interchange area. As you know, from time to time, and all of the recent developers in that area have asked for a little bit higher signs, maybe a little bit larger sign, because of the bowl shape of that part of the village and the historical existence of very tall highway identification signs, so as to identify the presence of those businesses to vehicular traffic on I-90. So after a time, the assistant to the village manager looked at this and those recent requests and has put together a suggestion for changing the dimensions that would be allowable for a normal sign permit rather than requiring a petition for variance. So these changes would reduce the number of applications for variance by making allowable a little taller and a little larger sign just in that area of the village.
That's what we wanted.
Excuse me, but could you give us just like a little layman's explanation of how you arrived at these? Did you compare to other areas, or how did you?
Yes, sir, I can speak to that. So what we believe the zoning board asked us to do was look at the recent applications and what the dimensions that those developments had applied for, and then to figure out what the maximums that have already been approved were. So they're all within a relatively close range, but what the recommendation before you is to reach to the maximum point that has previously been allowed. So then if a new developer wanted to exceed what has already been allowed, they would be required to come before you for a variance. But to just reach that point that has previously been allowed, it would just be a normal permit, no zoning process required. We did not check other area or communities in the area.
Was there any comparison to any other? I mean, it has to be areas like this, you know.
No, sir. This is actually a pretty unique area because it does sit in a bowl. There's really not a comparable community nearby.
Okay. Anybody on the board have any comment or question?
No, sir.
Okay. I guess we will close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing at 8:32. Second. Motion. Mobile. After you go. I feel close here. It's all by. I don't want to go down close.
Yeah, well, I'm supposed to.
Aye.
Yes, Mark.
Okay, anyway, all ayes, motion, public hearing closed 8:32. Okay, ready for another motion, Carl?
Well, anybody had any discussion or any question, or?
No, we're done. We've been talking about this for 3 years.
Yeah. Okay. Then sure, I will entertain a motion in a positive way.
I will make a motion to recommend approval of petition for zoning text amendment creating new advisory body, the planning and zoning commission to establish the plan for this zoning board and period. I'll second. That's the wrong motion. That's the wrong one? Did I read the wrong one? Yeah. I will make a motion to recommend the. Wait, I was too late. Sorry about that.
This is.
I got it. Too late. Motion to recommend approval for petition for zoning text amendment. The signage requirements of interchange overlay district that do with implied area of I-90 US 20 interchange. Also.
Yes, thank you.
Myself, aye. Hank? Aye. Rich? Aye. Endo?
Aye.
4 ayes, motion carries.
I'll make a motion to recommend that the chairman can represent us and sign the works.
I'll second it.
Hank?
Aye.
Rich? Aye. Bill? Aye. Myself? Aye.
Motion carries. 4-0. Okay. Next order of business on the agenda this evening is another public hearing regarding zoning text amendment to the zoning regulations, section 614. First question would be, is there anybody from the public audience here that is interested in speaking on this further business? I'm assuming no. I'll let the record show we opened the public hearing at 8:36.
And
Mark, do you want to?
Yes, the village has considered to combine the functions of a plan commission with the functions of a zoning board into one body. And what's before you is the amendment not only to the description of the plan commission and the zoning board of appeals, but then as those terms appear throughout the village code in all places, that would be replaced by a new planning and zoning commission to be made up of 7 members. The appointments would be made the same way. The village president would nominate an appointee, and then the village board renders its advice and consent on that nomination. It would be anticipated that this would take effect May 1, the next fiscal year, after the coming election, and so on. It's just a way to I guess make the development approval process a little more clear and succinct, and put these things together in one volunteer body that would give its advice to the village board. So you're asked to give your input on that proposal. As with any other text amendment, it's within your purview to give a recommendation one way or the other, and that's what's before you this evening.
I kind of just read through that thing. Basically, if I'm not mistaken, it appeared that any place that it said zoning board of appeals, that was lined through and it said planning and zoning board. Was there anything of great significance other than that in all of the amendments to these pages?
No. And obviously, the part of the code that describes the zoning board and the separate part that currently describes the plan commission and what those duties are, those duties will all be combined into this new body, the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Anybody have any discussion, questions, comments?
How many members are on the planning commission? Anybody know?
6, sir.
You have 6?
Yes.
Including your chairman?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
The new combined board will be the same, 7-person.
Yes.
That's the proposal.
Anybody, any more questions or no? And make a motion to, Mark, are you the one that amended this? This was your?
Yes, sir, I drafted that.
Do
You want a motion? I already did it once.
A motion. A motion to close the public hearing.
Okay, motion to close the public hearing.
Second. And then we will entertain a motion.
You want me to do it again? I'll make,
That's not my decision.
I'll make a motion to recommend approval for the petition for zoning text amendment to create a new advisory planning and zoning commission and to abolish the existing planning commission and zoning commission board of appeals.
I'll second it.
You wanna vote, Carl?
You
should. This is important. It affects you. You're gonna lose your job, eh?
They will all lose our jobs, and then we'll all be happy when those.
There's always unemployment.
Yeah, they pay you almost as much as they do here.
I don't know what you're making.
All right, Rich.
Right.
Bill.
Aye.
Myself, aye. Carl.
Aye.
Hank.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Motion passed. We're out of a job.
Okay.
All right,
We got one more thing.
you can authorize the chair to report that.
When do you need these, findings of fact signed for the village board?
The next village board meeting is the 18th.
Okay.
So prior to that,
On Monday or Tuesday would be fine.
Well, unless you're gonna allow me to sign virtually.
I'll be in Florida.
when are you leaving?
That's a personal question.
All right, no, that's fair. That's fair. I'll talk to you outside the meeting and we'll do our best to get them to you before you go.
You're not gonna be able to do that.
This is leaving right after the meeting.
Then we'll do a virtual.
Okay.
You'll be able, you'll be able to accomplish that at your office. I'll have to find somewhere on my end to do that.
We'll work it out.
Oh,
Cabana has,
so. You have no idea.
Cabana has Zoom.
We need one more motion.
I make a
Break
motion,
that down into,
I'll make a motion to authorize our chairman to speak on behalf of the ZBA and signing off on the paper.
Second?
second.
I'll second.
Rich got it. Too slow, old man.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Ayes have it.
You need to call a roll, please.
I'll give you that.
Make me right. My hand's tired. All right, myself, aye. Hank,
Aye.
Rich,
Aye.
Bill.
Aye.
Yeah, I told you, I said.
Okay, do we, have any old business? Is there any public comment? Feel free.
You want me to?
Not really.
You know I can talk about on anything.
I have to ask the question.
We only get paid for an hour. We're already here an hour and 40.
Oh, right. It's
And if we get overtime, boss,
file a grievance.
we get overtime?
No public comment? I thought maybe somebody want to tell me what a great job I'm doing.
I said.
Excuse me?
I said, they should thank you for your service.
Thank you. You're welcome. That's the first one in 30 years.
Have a good vacation, you're quiet.
Anybody, you gentlemen, have any announcements, anything we need to know about? Mark?
Yeah.
Anybody from Crown? I see that one guy is still there.
Dan.
Well, good, thank you.
I make a motion to adjourn,
Make a
please.
motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Ayes have it, we're adjourned.
Okay.
On a personal note. Yes. My wife and I bought a house in Fairfield, Indiana. We'll be moving the morning.